Hi, everyone. My name is Frank DiCarlo, and welcome to New Jersey Dam's live panel discussion from online classrooms to career. This is exciting. I've been fortunate in my career in having had the chance to work professionally in fields that touch digital asset management. And in that time, over 20 years, it's been a real and genuine head scratcher for me when needing to find people trained in DAM. But, and only recently, that has since changed. And right here in my own backyard of New Jersey, Rutgers University, with the help of some DAM industry leaders that we have on the panel today, have created a very first DAM certification program. In brief, digital asset management is comprehensive software that safely stores, organizes, and shares digital media, like photos and videos. It is a maturing field that brings the need for standardization. Today, we're going to touch upon how Rutgers DAM certification program is designed for those new to DAM, as well as experienced digital experts looking to expand career opportunities in this exciting and flourishing digital field. So with that, let's introduce our amazing panel. Hello, panel. Some of you are on mute.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's great to have you here today. Would everyone please give us a brief introduction and how they are involved in this now formal DAM education?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Regina Efimchik. I am the Director of Professional Development Studies at the School of Communication and Information at Rutgers University. That might be the longest title ever, and I can hardly ever get through it. But I handle all things non-credit in the School of Communication and Information.
Hello, all. This is David Lipsey. I am the chair of the Henry Stewart Conferences and have been involved in DAM since before it had a name. I was thrilled when Regina and Lilia Pavlovsky from Rutgers University approached Yonah Levenson and I and talked about the possibility of creating this program. That was in December of 2018. And we were thrilled by September of 2019 that we opened the doors on the program with Regina's leadership and help. Frank, thanks so much for the chance for us to be here today and share a bit about the program.
My pleasure. Thank you, David.
Hi, I'm Yonah Levenson. I am the co-director with David of the DAM certificate program at Rutgers. I'm also the manager of Metadata strategy at Warner Media. As David said, we got together in December of 2018 and created this program. One of the reasons that I was really interested in doing something like this is I had gotten my MLIS at Rutgers, which is now a Masters of Information program, and really knew that there was a lot more that people like me who are business information professionals, there was other kinds of knowledge that was needed beyond what was being taught in the library schools. So as this all fell together, it's just been a truly exciting journey, and having an opportunity to share my DAM journey and experience with others, it's extremely rewarding, and we look forward to having you on our journey. And thanks, Frank, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Yonah. Thomas, you with us?
I am. So hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Stilling, and my background and really deeper dive in DAM started when I oversaw areas at 20th Century Fox, working with digital assets in film and TV, and all the challenges of bringing together a catalog across multiple brands, multiple channels, with tens of twenties of hundreds of thousands of assets. And there is a real operational and tactical need to execute that drives a lot of the work I do on how you work with people and governance. So that's a little bit about my background.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Lauren Espiritu. I'm the owner of Percent Gray. We're an operational agency that works predominantly with creative businesses to help them streamline their workflows and supplement their teams. My background in digital asset management and creative operations comes from being a photographer first, and then really getting involved in establishing processes to help larger teams streamline as we were experiencing an influx of digital content over the course of the last decade.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody. So just for the live participants today, first of all, this is being recorded. Just want to remind everybody. And let's bring up some polls, get a little read on who's with us today. Let me just find my mouse. There we go. So there's 1 or 2 questions there if everybody wouldn't mind answering those. Also at the end of the panel discussion and talking a little bit about the DAM certification program, we'll be taking some questions where you'll be able to hear from the panelists and with their answers. I think it's a good opportunity, Regina, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about the certification program itself.
So hi again, everyone. Yeah, if you look at this slide, we have some quick bullets about the program. I just wanted to give you some quick background. I know David mentioned Lilia Pavlovsky. So she is the director of the Masters of Information program. And she started seeing this pattern of DAM showing up at conferences, showing up at all in these different places. Like David jokes that he knew what DAM was before anyone knew what DAM was. And we thought it might be a great opportunity to start something. And we did some research and we realized that nothing like this exists in North America. So it was just a really fun way to bring all of these amazing instructors together to increase people who are working in DAM or want to work in DAM or are newly tasked with something in DAM to get some more information and to get a certificate to put on their resume as well. So that's how this started, as David said, a little over a year ago. It's been an adventure for sure. I think Yonah said journey. I think it's been both a journey and an adventure. It's been exciting. Our participants are amazing. And we're just so excited about this, that it's really the only type of program that exists in North America. And you'll see the picture on the screen. Rutgers School of Communication Information is a bricks and mortars building. So not only is a participant getting the expertise of instructors around the country, but it comes with the credibility of a very old and Big Ten university behind it. So it's been really, like I said, just really exciting. You'll see on the screen that it's a professional development non-credit program. It's just for you to get better at work. It's online and asynchronous, which means that your instructors are with you, but you can log in whenever you want to. So if you're a morning person, if you're a night owl, if you are someone who has time at lunch, you can do your coursework when it makes sense for you, but you still have your instructors and your peers with you in that experience. The certificate fully is lined up as 6 4-week courses, again, all online, but they can be taken individually or all together. So if you just need one refresher on something, you can take that course individually. If you want to take all 6 courses, you get a certificate in DAM from Rutgers University, School of Professional Development Studies. So it's super flexible. We have staff, you'll see at the bottom, that are ready to help you out, depending on what questions you have and what you might want to do to make your career the best. This is briefly a list of, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is briefly a list of the courses in the program, the 6, but each instructor is going to go into that in more detail as we move through the webinar. And then you'll see on the next slide, thank you, Frank, that that we have had great student feedback from the program so far. It's only been 5 months that we're in this. It's going great. We'll always be tweaking, but you'll see some lovely comments from participants. We meet them all the time. People have seen them at conferences. They email us in our office at Rutgers. We get feedback from each course, and these are just some of the comments that we've seen come through about how much they're enjoying the program.
Fantastic. Thank you, Regina. Something I forgot to mention for the attendees is the actual questions that you'd like to ask the panel. If you wanted to get a jump, there's a Q&A in the icons where you can type in your questions so that we can have them answered by the panelists later on. And with that, David, would you like to start to speak a little bit about some course details? And you are on mute, my friend.
Wouldn't think I've only done how many webinars?
No, it's old.
Frank, thank you, and Regina. Now, we have as in some ways the initial course in the 6 for the cohort, a course that we call it The Evolving World of DAM. We know that digital assets are the building blocks of today's world, and without them, our economy would virtually ground to a halt. While that may not be recognized in executive offices to the degree that we wish, we all work hard very much to make assets part of the digital engagement or the reference information that a corporate library or a museum library might be using. And in this course, we provide the foundational understanding of what are the building blocks of DAM? Where did it come from? What does it evolve through? But it's not just a historical retrospective. It's very much grounded in the meaning of the digital embrace today, in the velocity of content and the myriad of roles that it plays today, and how without what all of us do in DAM, that velocity would be dialed down to first gear or maybe just be going backwards. So we do a little bit of looking at where DAM came from. We take a pretty in-depth temperature of what the definition of DAM is today. And in this course, and for everyone who participates in the courses, we're always thinking about how do we enable a professional working in DAM to go to work every day, do their job better, help their organizations meet their missions or their mandates or their profitability goals, and be, for each of you personally, that you'll have more of a sense of success and directionality for your own careers. There's a lot of very lively discussions that go on, and all of us who are instructors have experienced this. And it is something that I want to say that's been just an absolute pleasure for me, is the chance to participate in the engaged discussions that are part of each of the 6 courses. Everyone has the opportunity, and in fact is required, to participate in the discussion boards, and they're lively. I've learned so much through them and enjoy contributing to them. So that's our title for our introductory class, if you will, The Evolving World of DAM.
Excellent. Yonah, would you like to speak a little bit about metadata for DAM?
Well, those of you that have, if anybody on this call has ever heard me speak before, everyone knows that I'm passionate about metadata. So for me, the opportunity to be able to teach a course called Metadata for DAM definitely is has been a pleasure, and I look forward to continuing to do so. One of the things that I do in this class is I try and make sure that people have the opportunity to learn from my experiences. And one of the ways I approach it is, what is the information I would have liked to have had when I first started my DAM career? And so I give a background for those who are not really familiar with metadata. So this way you can learn about the 6 different kinds of metadata. I'll give you the pop quiz, but I'll go ahead and answer it, which is descriptive, administrative, preservation, technical, usage, and rights. And there's also structural. So being able to share the information and help everybody, the participants, understand how metadata is woven throughout the DAM experience and the life cycle and what needs to happen. One of the other areas that I make sure we touch on are what are the roles of the people who are involved with metadata, who's going to capture it, who's going to use it, who's going to QA it, and also what is out there already. I do not like to reinvent the wheel. So there are a lot of standards out there. So I have a huge list of different kinds of metadata standards that exist, so you can use that to get started, rather than going, oh my goodness, I am putting in a DAM system. Where do I start? Oh, they have out of the box. I'll just use that, and then find it really isn't necessarily meeting the full needs or the expectations of your sponsors and cheerleaders. So the class really gives a lot of opportunity to do some hands-on, to figure out how to figure out what you would need to do with DAM in your with your use case. One of the other things I want to mention that the program also does is that by going through the full set of courses, the 6 courses, they build on each other, and then although you can't take them separately, but you can also end up with a portfolio at the end of the certificate program, because you can start with David's class and then continue on with metadata. If you continue on with the same use case, you get to end up with a really good story at the end that you can use as a portfolio piece, and hopefully that will help you move forward in your career. So that's a lot of what I do in the class, teach about aboutness. You also want to think about the user experience as well with regards to metadata, and think about where your data comes from and where it's going. So that's a good start, and I look forward to questions if there are any later on, or pop them in the chat box.
Excellent. Thank you, Yonah. Lauren, you want to touch a little bit upon the creative operations
Sure, thanks, Frank.
course? Yeah.
So creative operations is somewhat of an emerging discipline, and when we think about creative operations, a lot of times there's a relationship to it being similar to creative project management, and it does rely very heavily on project management, but what we're thinking about is the overall operation and all of the nuts and bolts that come into play in creating digital assets or digital content and moving it from ideation through production and then out through distribution channels and overall managing its life cycle. And so the discipline has really been rooted in the fact that there is this increased demand for digital content over the last decade or so. And creative operations' role within an organization is really to be able to provide cohesion across all of those different pieces. So in the digital era, to have a successful brand, it's pretty widely known now that you need to have a good body of content behind you. And so what creative operations does to ensure that cohesion is says, okay, if your customer's interacting with you on social media or through your website or even within your physical store, you want to make sure that they're having a cohesive experience across the board. And what I've noticed over the course of the last couple of years is that this is actually trending into smaller businesses. So where creative operations was more a role or a discipline that would be in a larger corporate setting, especially with consumer products and direct-to-consumer companies, I'll get calls from these smaller businesses that really understand that you need to have this operational infrastructure in place to ensure the success of the business. So when it comes to the course, what we're doing is we're looking at a few main components. We're taking a look at workflow, and we're making sure that we have processes that fit the needs for being able to move that content from point A through point Z. We're making sure that you have the appropriate technology in place, and that if any technology is in place, it's constantly maintained or updated, and you're working with it in an agile way, so that as the demand or as the landscape changes, which it does very frequently, that the teams are not getting bogged down by unnecessary processes. And then also having a people perspective where you're ensuring that everybody's really well trained, understands what their role is and their responsibility within the larger supply chain. And then there's a very strong note in this course that it hits on this concept of creative capacity. And so having worked in production and worked with creative teams for my entire career, what I've noticed is that there are a lot of administrative aspects whenever it comes to digital asset management, or it comes to being able to move all of these pieces of content around an organization. And if it's not a well-oiled machine, those pieces can start to reduce a creative team's bandwidth to actually ideate. And there are two really notable side effects of that. The first side effect is that if a creative team can't ideate, then the brand suffers. You become limited in being able to produce creative ideas, being able to put out really cutting edge content that can help enhance your business. And then the second most notable effect is that creative teams are subject to burnout. It's that left brain, right brain mentality. If they don't have the space to ideate and create, and they're working more in this procedural operational admin sort of world in terms of, you know, making sure their digital assets are going in the right place, entering metadata, so on and so forth, then the team can really suffer on a personal level. And so for me and for, you know, I hope the discipline overall, creative operations should be about facilitating the creative's role and having the ability to do what it is that they do best, and that's come up with great ideas and produce great content.
Very good. Thank you, Lauren. David, Yonah, how do we integrate DAM into the bigger picture? How's the course touch upon that?
That's a great question. So, because it was a question, we went ahead and created this class. One of the things we found is that a lot of times people look at the content that's going into DAM, everybody looks at it from their own perspective, and so you can end up with a very siloed view. So we knew that it would be really helpful to be able to have a course that explained how you integrate, who are some of the different users and roles, and the people that that end up getting involved with DAM. So that's what we did. So we focus a lot about how the information fits together, what are the different pieces, what kind of data and content go into a DAM, and how to plan accordingly. One of the big things that one of my phrases that I use often is plan your work and work your plan. You know, a lot of people say that, but particularly with DAM, you really want to think about how all the pieces fit together, what the flow is, and what are the different touch points and who's going to need what, and have you accounted for it. So that gets back often into basic project management with regards to use cases and making sure that you are doing what is expected with the DAM so that senior management can continue to support what you're doing. There are things that people often don't think about, and again, some of this is from my own personal experience where one of the first DAMs I implemented, and actually David was my sales guy way back when, on this. So we were very excited. We got the DAM in. I put a ton of metadata fields in there. It was too much for most people to handle. And then, you know, like a year and a half, 2 years later, along came an update. And it was like, oh, shoot, how do we plan for that? What are we going to have to do? So by thinking about the integration and how DAM works, you can really start to make sure that all those pieces are in place and that you don't really break the system before you even get started. So and now David, do you want to?
And along with the temperament and the tone of learning best practices for managing a complex landscape like this that Yonah just outlined, we do dive into some of the particulars about APIs, microservices, and best practices in partnering with IT so that once DAM does get going or DAMs evolve, that we're ready to keep up. We know that all of us have to learn how to be ready for the ever-changing technologies and integrations that are required of us. What we manage as a, air quotes around this, digital asset today contains everything that we managed 10 years ago in 2010 as what we'll manage 10 years from now in 2030 as what is a digital asset. Yonah and I had a lot of fun in this class with the new technology that's emerged on the scene of the virtual concerts we used Roy Orbison as a particular example, where the technology has been stitched together to take footage of his concerts, his voice, his clothing, his dance movements, his music, and create a holographic projection of Roy Orbison, where he plays from the Hollywood Bowl all the way to the East Coast and up into Canada too, with a live symphony orchestra. Now, what in the world kind of digital asset is that? And of course, it's a bunch of digital assets with rights clearance issues, with estate management and compensation issues, as well as what is the opportunity to repurpose that content. And it exemplifies much of the complex integrations that are necessary for certain, that are continually presented to us. And as we say here on this slide, awareness of all these factors are part of being an effective dam leader. And we want to give everyone who's participating in the courses that particular sense of, hey, I've got my new low merit badge here about being an effective dam leader. So Yonah and I enjoy teaching this class together. It does touch on some of the more technical aspects of dam, although we don't exam on those particularly, but we do want to illuminate the importance of the bigger picture in other technologies to how dam works effectively. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you both. Excellent. Thomas, would you speak a little bit on data governance? One of my favorites.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. I was sharing with some of the panelists that governance is often the unsung and unheard hero of successful dam implementations and successful change implementations. And I think one of the highlights that came through in the discussions in the most recent course is that when you think about governance and the umbrella, you really need to focus on people as enablers of change. Yes, there's technology, yes, there's process, but you want to start with the people and the stakeholders and the ones who are impacted by how you move forward. And a lot of what came through in the materials we put together and in the discussions and some of the private emails was around how governance gets a bad rap. Governance is viewed as overly hierarchical, too formal, and it's viewed by some companies through past experiences as more of a jail rather than what it should be viewed as, which is an enabler of business outcomes. And so when we talk through this course, we're trying to give tools and framework for how you succeed in implementing governance and how you can make that a successful part of the program. So when you talk about people and then you consider process, when you're enabling business outcomes, one of the first things we really spend a lot of time on is on vision and goals and principles. And so one of the questions I asked in this last round was, if you were going to introduce this vision and introduce goals, how would you do it and what would you include? And there is no wrong answer. And to my happiness, there was an enthusiastic response which is confirmed by the data that's out there by Harvard Business School, by Rutgers, by other academic institutions, and by commercial institutions. The data proves that if you have good vision, good structure, good governance, you really are setting up a foundation for success. And that's what I would characterize governance as for this program, but also as people are executing in their own organizations.
Thank you, Thomas. David, I believe one of the last course of the 6 is successful implementation for DAM. Can you share a little bit about that?
Be glad to. This is the course that happens to be underway right now. And it's an advanced class about stepping back, looking at what makes for successful implementation of DAM. Many of us have lived through experiences where the word success might be not tied to the project that we're working on. This is still a relatively new software field, and it changes so continually that it presents a lot of governance challenges, as well as understanding its roots into other applications and what it means to embrace the evolution of metadata and its importance in becoming the kind of the search bar for the world. So this class steps back and takes a look at, regardless of the particulars that are going into DAM, how do we look at successful project practices for enterprise projects in general. And we have one of the courses that we call, or one of the lectures, I'm sorry, that I call, Why is DAM so damn hard? And so many of us have lived through the need to answer that question. To help guide us on that way, we look very deeply at the digital asset management capability model, the updated title for what was the DAM maturity model. And incidentally, at Henry Stewart, there'll be a 1-hour session introducing the new capability model, the updated one. We look at metrics and measurement, and we look at this very broadly, not just return on investment, which is true and needed and happens a lot, but also return on initiative and return on information. We know that a mission and mandate organization that uses DAM to go to work to help with charitable operations, to be a better museum, to engage digitally as a services organization, that we have different measurements than just pure profit and loss, and DAM should go to work for those as well as for everything else. We also look in this course at DAM across the organizational landscape. We look at insurance, we look at risk management, we look at mergers and acquisitions and brand de-accessions. We look at the econometric model of the asset itself, as well as what the meaning of the data is and the value of the data that DAM currently houses. So the data as an autonomous asset and what the econometric impact of those can be for how organizations operate. All along the way, though, this is just to ground all of us into understanding how to develop organizational allegiances and enterprise support. So with good governance, with insights into the creative assets that comprise the repositories that we have, the metadata that truly is the key to the kingdom and what we all want if we find the proverbial genie lamp on the side of the beach. We rub it in, we use all 3 wishes for metadata. And our understanding from a governance point of view that we have use cases and innovations that persistently change. And we also watch these changes impact a much broader organizational landscape. And that's how we define success in this particular course. It's far-reaching. It is an advanced class, and just a week into it, we're having very lively and delightful engagements and discussions with the current participants in the program. We do call this the 6th class, although I do want to reiterate, as Regina said, that classes can be taken in any sequence and in any order. And all of us we have, I don't know what you even call them today, but we've been calling them office hours, even though they're digital. And we welcome the opportunity to engage one-to-one with everyone who's all the participants in the program. So if there is something that seems a little askew or a particularly thorny question about something, the office hours, in air quotes, are really fun for us. And it's a core part of the Rutgers ethic in having professionals like us available to make sure that what we're teaching, what you're learning are aligned well, and to help tune them if necessary. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, thank you, David. That's fantastic. Thank you to each of you that broke down each of the courses so well. Hope everyone's beginning to see the value of this certification program. Exciting for Rutgers and everybody in DAM, new and old. I'd like to get to some questions and answers. We see some questions already coming in. I want to encourage everybody that's live to go in your Q&A field and get some more questions going so we can get the panelists speaking a bit more. So while you're doing that, I have a question. So in looking at fields so closely aligned with DAM, such as library science and archive management as it relates to many organizational needs, including creative operations, there's a long established tradition of degree-oriented credentialing. So panelists, why do you think it's taken so long for DAM to become a part of formal education and arrive on the scene in an authenticated academic setting?
Well, I'll take it as one of the founders of the field. This is David speaking. I'll take a quick stab at that. It still remains, Frank, a bit of a puzzle to me. Why did this take so long?
Yeah.
And I've thought about it. DAM had most of its roots in a kind of I'll call it a library gestalt, where both the figure and the ground were the organization of this new emerging class of assets. some of the original many millions of dollars that were spent on inventing DAM were devoted to taking printed content and making it available. Everybody ready for the buggy whip analogy here? Making it available on CD-ROMs. And, you know, that's like a chuckle today to think about that. But the original thesis of DAM was very much designed, like most software is, by using the rear view mirror as a guidepost. So the rear view mirror was, well, we publish textbooks or we make movies in a certain way, because the content industries were the first industries that funded DAM. We make movies a certain way, we make textbooks a certain way, we make novels a certain way. So let's use this new digital technology to make them quicker, better, reusable. But a lot of the ideation was in a theory that's called Conway's Law of being designed within itself. As time went on, the technology and our knowledge of what it could do certainly changed, but we kind of lost a root as far as where could this be taught academically. So we'd see an occasional mention of it in an information sciences course, but lots, in many cases, DAM would be talked about or even taught in an archive and preservation class or in an MLIS class, but never as a concentration. So it took a long time to kind of spring the bird out of that, if you will, and morph into a more, as we're doing here at Rutgers, a purpose-built, but very, in this case, is very practically built, an architecture for formal education on DAM. That being said, Frank, it still remains a mystery to me. So,
anybody else?
I think the other part is that, and we've talked about, when you look at leaders and you look at people who come to the field, you come from library, as David said, from library background, or you come from a tech background. And I think because a really good and successful DAM program draws from multiple disciplines, the challenge has been, where does it fit? And so in absence of a clear home, one has not been created. So I think that's one of the strengths of this program and of the certificate. We've created a home that recognizes the multiple disciplines that feed into this, and now we have a place.
Thomas, you took the words right out of my mouth.
And I think that, you know, coming from I have a MLIS from Rutgers, which was how I met Lilia, and then wanted to make sure that, you know, that Lilia and David met, because I knew that there was be a great synergy there. And now we've got Regina and a bunch of other folks that are all supporting this and working with Lauren and Thomas, because we each bring something different to the mix. But the reality is that you need all of our skills in order to really have successful DAM implementation. And so along those lines, you can kind of pick and choose in some ways the different areas that you as an individual contributor may want to focus on from it, you know, for your DAM experience, but you still have the luxury and the benefit of getting to work with all these other folks. We also know that in many DAM implementations, there are very few people who actually are involved in the day in, day out management of it, so one can wear many hats. And I think there was a question there about how, if you have an MLIS, does this, just double check the question, about how the certificate helps somebody who has the MLIS. A lot of the MLIS programs, and Rutgers is really doing a great job also there for expanding out the net, expanding out their courses, but it really complements the MLIS degree, and that it helps promote one more towards becoming a business information professional. And so that gets back into the certificate program and ending up, if you go through this, or even whatever courses that you take, that you can end up with a portfolio piece or pieces that you can use to show people that you have these other skill sets. Because when you're working with DAM and creating metadata, it's very different than working in a library and having to catalog, you know, books, and because that's prescribed. Whereas with DAM, it can often be the Wild West, and you have to be very careful with what you pick and choose, and to make sure that it's meeting the needs of all the various audiences out there. Hope that
Good.
answers the question.
Yeah, along those lines, interacting with many dam opportunities, and what you're touching upon, I think, is job descriptions. You know, to put it simply, they're all over a map.
Sure.
Maybe the panelists would like to share their insights as to how we get a more common meaning to digital asset manager. What counsel would you give to professionals working in the field of dam, or where they are, change where they are today? You know, would you help maybe navigate how would you help navigate their resumes and their job description?
So I love this question. Sorry, my enthusiasm, just a quick short note.
Yeah.
I would say the job descriptions of the universe are everything and the kitchen sink. And it's because there's two things we, the community, can help with, and then I'll defer to my panelists, the other panelists. One is we have to help companies and organizations with guidance on what to ask for, because it's clearly shown in the job recs they're not sure. And B, as a discerning job seeker, how do we help identify the keywords and the phrases so that when you interview, it's not about being a straight, you're just answering questions. It's in the interview process, you're actually helping guide the discussion to ensure they know what they truly need.
It's really good, really great points. And one of the things I think that's been really interesting has been the background of the students themselves, of the participants. In my metadata for DAM class, almost half the students had MLIS degrees, and I think some of them were probably like, oh yeah, that's what I really need, another like intro to metadata class. But what really evolved was that instead of thinking about how they learn metadata as MLIS students, and some of them did have DAM experience, by showing them a different perspective and how to put on your metadata DAM hat, I could really see through the discussions and conversations and the assignments how students were shifting their thinking and understanding that there was a different world out there. And that's one of the big purposes, one of the main purposes, I think, of putting together this DAM certificate program, is that it is really helping to expand people's horizons and understanding how they have to shift. And I'm doing hand motions here, you know, a little bit to the left, a little to the right, maybe a lot in either direction, in order to make sure that the goals that they have or the use cases that they're trying to support can actually, you know, the goals can be met and the use cases be fulfilled.
And coming from the creative operations perspective, you know, my take on it is we conducted a bunch of research over the summer, and up to this point have identified over 50 individual skill sets that can touch DAM. And so the way that we take a look at it is not only just about formulating the right job descriptions and the right job titles for the people who are responsible for specific aspects, but really taking a look at the overall formula and all of the different areas and skills that you do need to touch. And in fact, you know, teaching the participants of courses like this how to actually go out and educate their colleagues and educate the other people who are working the supply chain with them, so that everybody who's contributing those individual skills understands the importance of how they're interacting with their digital assets.
Someone asked, what would you say is the most exciting opportunity regarding the use of digital asset management going forward?
Anything and everything.
It's broad.
Well, and I think part of it is that while this is DAM, there are other kinds of content management systems out there. There's MAMS for media asset management, which certainly fits into my world at Warner Media. But again, the principles are still the same. You're just maybe dealing with a different kind of content. So the sizes of the files that the folks I work with, you know, may be different than, you know, some of the content that Lauren's, you know, customers have to work with, because maybe she's working with print as well as broadcast, as well as audio, and all different kinds of information.
So I really like this question. I think a lot of you know me and know how I speak about DAM. but I do think dam is the center of the universe. And so, and the great son of content. But one of the things I think is going on that's so exciting about dam is that we're coming to understand that the everyday operational nature of getting digital assets in where they belong, how they should be described, rights cleared and ready to go, means that those of you who are dam managers and who are looking at this career-wise and professionally have an ever important seat at the table in the overall thesis of how your organizations engage digitally with the world. And that the role of the dam manager is changing pretty dramatically right now. And we're starting to see around North America the collapse of dam being run out of marketing departments, which I think was a great thing to get it going and a great thing that it's evolving. And where dam finally is starting to report to other places in an organization, perhaps a COO or a CDO, particularly a COO is a belief I have. And so I think in terms of what's exciting going forward is that we do see we're starting to see titles such as Global Dam Manager, Global Vice President for Dam, MD for dam. And I think those are really exciting evolutions going on.
Having a different seat at the table.
Yep, different seat at the table.
Yeah.
And I think longer term, a lot of the focus on digital asset management for industries that have traditionally been physically based, obviously that continues. Anyone who doesn't know, for example, that the dirty secret of the universe is that the world still runs on Excel. Well, the world still runs on paper and physical assets. And in some of the discussions we talked about, you have to be equipment ready, you have to be process ready to do that. Now, so that's one part of the dam possibility. The other one is really, and I'm gonna highlight Lauren's area around creative, around film and media and some of my background, but in advertising, in MarTech, in a lot of industries, there is an advanced recognition and need in the future to become more flexible, more adaptable. How do you enable these assets to bring value to your business, to enable your organization? And so I think there's a real rich mix. To Yonah's point about almost everything, you have this physical transformation that's still happening worldwide, but then you have some really creative advanced uses for dams that are just exciting overall.
Absolutely. Anybody else have a comment on that? Okay.
I'll go back. I don't. I think we've had some other questions come in, but I do want to say on the job descriptions that one of the things we have a section on job descriptions, and it is a bit of still a kind of enter at your own peril, but we believe across all of us that you'll be able to better influence your HR departments on the importance of career tracks for dam, on compensation, and on what is a dam manager through the Rutgers program. And I think it'll be a while, but we will see this be a measurable result of this credentialing action from Rutgers.
Yeah. Yeah, why don't we touch a little bit upon how this certification in particular can help. We understand it's brand new, but what are some of the backgrounds of the students that you've seen so far? What industries are they coming from? What kind of functions, level of what they're doing at work? Are they coming from IT? Are they executive positions? Just give us a little idea of what you are coming to understand after launching this and interacting with students, and what you see particularly helping people that are interested in gaining the certification.
Regina, you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. We have had this, and David, you and Yonah and everyone has said the same thing. They're coming from all different types of backgrounds. They're coming from different levels of previous education, because this is professional development. They're coming from everything we've been talking about, photography to marketing to, I used to be in this field and now they just made me do DAM at my company, to, I've been in DAM for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's been a really big, broad group of students, which I think the instructors have found invigorating and interesting. And I'll let them talk about anybody that surprised them in their classes, but I feel like that level of variety of students who are coming into this, or participants, are learning so much from each other too. That's one of the benefits of a discussion board and interacting with your peers, is that you could be new and learning from someone who's been in for 20 years, and you could be in for 20 years and learning from someone from an organization who's just even recognizing what DAM is. So if anybody wants specific information on the student, like, I'm not going to give away names or companies online right now, but if anybody wants to email me for that information, the contact is below there. I'm more than happy to share that with you. But it's been really excitingly varied.
And I think one of the exciting things has been the way that community is starting to evolve. The
Yes.
students are all eager, to make contact, many of them to make contact with each other. And I recently had an experience where two students ended up meeting, and I happened to be in the area, and getting to actually meet students in person and having conversation and getting the live feedback. And one of the things that we're starting to do will be to have some kind of informal optional office hours as part of the classes. So this way you have an opportunity to engage with the other participants as well as directly with the instructors. And so I think we're going to continue to keep on forming these, to make this a bigger, DAM certificate community.
And Regina, you
Others.
mentioned surprises in your response, and what I found at the beginning of the creative operations course was that the majority, if not all of the participants that I had, asked, well, what is creative operations? Why is this part of the curriculum here? Why is this part of the certification program? And by the end of week 2, a third of them actually said in the discussion threads, I didn't realize this is actually my job. So it was really neat to see how the community started to develop there as these folks realized that they had parallels in their own careers and had all of these problems to solve, that they were able to bounce the ideas back and forth with one another.
I think this is David speaking. A perspective I would also share is that this would be a very, the program is tuned for working professionals, and it would be very abstract for someone as an undergraduate to take these classes without work experience. So if there's any curiosity about that on the other side of the coin, kind of entering a career, I think having a year or two of experience under one's belt makes this content make a lot more sense. The exception to that would be that we have a lot of participants who have MLIS backgrounds who really wanted to go to work in DAM, and there was no DAM class, no DAM place to get educated. So in that case, we do find that there's a little wider latitude in being ready to take this particular certificate, but it is aimed at working professionals. And within that context, in answer to the question that we got, it's a really wide range from, I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years. I was just hired to put a DAM program in. I came from I was doing some other kind of job. And now it's a much wider landscape, and it goes to a much wider landscape of, yes, I'm in my 3rd DAM job. I work for a multinational corporation. I have 25 people work for me. So there's the curriculum material accommodates that range of professionals too.
In the interest of time, I want to give it another opportunity for Regina just to maybe talk about how to register for the courses, what everybody needs to know going forward.
Sure. I just want to reiterate that if my contact information is at the bottom of each slide. Thank you guys for joining so much. If you want more information, we work with you very closely. If you have a reimbursement, you want to take 1 class, you want to take 6 classes, whatever you want to do, we will work with you. You'll see on the screen the schedule that is upcoming. So great. So many great professionals are enrolled in this. And more than anything, it's David and Yonah and Lauren and Thomas, and now you too, Frank, who, thank you for doing this for us, who have made this program what it is. Rutgers, we provided the platform, and it's been really, really wonderful. I cannot thank them enough. I can't have more confidence in the world for these instructors and what they've created. It's really, really exciting. So please reach out, contact me with anything. It's a one of a kind.
Fantastic. I want to thank everybody on the panel today, and Regina for giving us a more in-depth look at the certification program. It's very exciting for all dam enthusiasts. So with that, there's other videos and things you can check out on New Jersey Dam community with a whole bunch of different information. You can find us on YouTube as well as LinkedIn. But panelists, thank you for your time. Continued success with this certification program. Is there anything else anybody would like to say?
I think, Frank, we appreciate your leadership. I do in the field, and look forward to the chance to continue to share what Rutgers is doing. And we hope to see some of you who are on the webinar join us in the program, and we're glad to answer. There's a couple questions that have come in. Please go to the Rutgers website. Regina and her crew there are fabulous at answering questions, and if you have specific things, they get in touch with us, and we're all very responsive to helping you have an understanding of what the program is.
Excellent. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Frank.
All right. Have a great one.
Bye.